for trusting my nonverbal granddaughter who whispered my drink was spiked? My name is Linda Hargrove. I am 67 years old, and I live in an older house in the Irving Park neighborhood of Chicago. It has a small backyard, vintage tile in the kitchen, and windows that get stuck when it rains. My husband and I bought it many years ago through hard work and a mortgage that lasted longer than we expected. He passed away 6 years ago. The house has felt too big for me since then, but it is still my place. My son Matthew Hargrove is 34. He is a good man, but he has always had trouble confronting people. Ever since he was a boy, he would apologize even when he had not done anything wrong. I used to think it was pure kindness. Over the years, I realized it can also be a way of letting others decide for you. His wife, Rachel Hargrove, was different. Rachel did not need to raise her voice. She had a quiet way of arranging things, so it seemed like everything was for everyone else's benefit. Do not worry, I will take care of it. It is easier if I do it. And by the time you wanted to give an opinion, the decision had already been made. They had been married for 6 years. I watched Matthew become more careful with his words, quicker to give in and slower to laugh. At family meals, Rachel would answer for him. I noticed, and I kept quiet more than I should have. And then there was Allison. Allison came into Matthew and Rachel's life through adoption when she was 6. After being in foster care and going through a lengthy process, she had big eyes and a way of looking as if she were keeping track of everything, especially the adults. The doctors had mentioned anxiety, developmental delays, selective mutism, and early trauma. At home for everyone, that just meant Allison did not speak. She communicated with me through gestures, drawings, or glances. If she wanted water, she would touch the glass. If she was tired, she would sit near me without asking for anything. I did not pressure her. I thought I was loving her the way she needed. But I later realized there were things I was not seeing. Rachel said Allison needed structure. Sometimes she was right. The girl got upset with sudden changes. The problem was that Rachel used that truth to justify everything. She also mentioned that she helped a woman from the church, Mrs. Martha Donnelly, with her paperwork. She said she brought her food from time to time since the woman barely went out anymore. It did not seem strange to me at the time. It all started with a trip. Matthew called me on a Tuesday night. He had that overly cheerful voice he used when he was about to ask me for a favor. "Mom," he said, "Rachel found a deal for a hotel in Cancun. 6 nights. All-inclusive. She says a break would do us good. Do you think you could stay with Allison?" Stay with her? How? I asked, though I already understood. At the apartment. Just for those few days. She is used to you. It would not be complicated. I heard Rachel say something in the background. Rachel already has everything prepared, he added. Then she took the phone. "Linda, we would really appreciate it so much," she said. "I left you a folder with meals, schedules, exercises, and emergency numbers. I also left you some herbal tea. It can help you sleep." I did not like her insistence. It was not the first time Rachel had offered me that tea. At 2 previous family dinners, she had served me a cup after the meal, saying it was good for resting. I drank it without a second thought. Back then it was just tea. "How kind," I replied. "Try to drink the whole cup," she said. "It is mild. Chamomile, lavender, a bit of lemon balm. It will be good for you." "I will keep that in mind." Perfect. We leave early on Saturday. The flight is mid-morning. On Saturday, they picked me up before 8 in the morning. Since it was early and traffic had not built up yet, we were at their apartment in Lincoln Square in just over 20 minutes. Allison was sitting on the couch with a small backpack at her feet, even though she was not going anywhere. She was hugging a worn-out stuffed rabbit. Rachel was already in vacation mode. Big sunglasses, a white blouse, a hardshell suitcase. She hugged Allison tightly, more than necessary. "Be good," she whispered in her ear. Allison did not move. Then Rachel turned to me and handed me a glass jar with dried herbs. "Do not forget the tea, Linda. 1 cup at night." The jar smelled of chamomile, lavender, and something citrusy. Nothing seemed dangerous. Matthew hugged me. Thanks, Mom, really? Go on and enjoy yourselves, I told him. They left for the airport with their suitcases in their hurry. Allison stayed by the window watching the car pull away. She did not cry or wave. She just stood there until she could not see it anymore. I approached her slowly. Well, sweetie, I said, crouching down a little. It is you and me this week. We are going to be okay. Allison looked up at me. There was something in her face I could not quite grasp. At the time I thought it was nervousness. Later I realized it was fear. That first day was calm. We had breakfast, watched cartoons, and walked around the block because being cooped up made her restless. Rachel sent messages constantly. Do not forget the therapy exercises. No sugar at night. Warm bath, not hot. And drink your tea, please. I replied, yes, Rachel, everything is fine. Matthew also wrote, but not much. Everything okay? Thanks, Mom. They were short messages, as if Rachel were next to him, or as if he did not know what else to ask. That night, after giving Allison a bath, I put some water on to heat. The kitchen was small and very clean, with a thick folder on the counter. I opened the jar of tea and put a spoonful in the strainer. Allison appeared in the kitchen doorway. She made no sound. Her hair was damp and the sleeves of her pajamas were pulled down over her fingers. Do you want some water? I asked her. She shook her head. I picked up the cup. I had barely brought it to my lips. I took a tiny sip, more out of obligation than desire. Allison moved suddenly. She grabbed my wrist with a strength I did not expect. Then she pointed at the cup. Do not drink it. I froze. What did you say? Allison did not look away. Do not drink it. She put something in it. I carefully placed the cup back on the counter. Who? Rachel. The way she said it sent a chill down my spine. Allison, I said slowly, how long have you been able to talk? She lowered her eyes. I can, but not when she is here. The refrigerator continued its low hum. I looked around the kitchen as if something else might be out of place. Sweetheart, I said, trying not to frighten her more. Why did you not tell us? Allison swallowed. She said if I talked, they would send me back into foster care. I felt a surge of anger and guilt, but I kept it to myself. What did she put in the tea? She shrugged. A white powder. She crushed it first, put it in here, and stirred it. She said it would make you sleepy, that you would not understand things very well. And why would she want that? Allison looked at her hands. For some papers. What papers? I do not know about the house or Matthew. She said she was almost there. That was enough for me to understand. Rachel was not being insistent out of care. She was planning something. Maybe she did not want me to sign the house over in a single day. But she wanted me to be seen as tired, confused, and easy to influence. It would have been easy to call Matthew or send Rachel a message full of accusations. But if I got upset, I would be giving her exactly what she needed to claim I was unwell. So I took a breath, leaned in, and kissed Allison on the forehead. Thank you for telling me, I said. I did not throw out the tea. I set the cup aside on a shelf, covered it with a plate, and did not wash it. I closed the original jar, put it in a clean bag, and wrote the time on a label. Then I saved a portion of the mixture in a small container. It was not perfect evidence, but it was better than washing everything and being left with nothing. Allison was still watching me. She is going to be mad. Maybe, I said. But you did not do anything wrong. I knelt in front of her. For now, we are not going to fight with her. First, I need to ask for help and secure what we have. This is not a secret to hurt her. It is to protect us while I talk to people who know what to do. Okay. Allison frowned slightly. Are you going to stay? Yes, I am going to stay. I put her to bed early. I sat by her bed until she fell asleep. Then I went to the kitchen and opened Rachel's folder. On a page marked with a pink highlighter it said, Nightly tea 1 full cup. I took a picture of it. I also took pictures of the jar, the set-aside cup, and the text messages. Then I wrote to Rachel, Allison is already asleep. I am going to have your tea. She replied almost immediately. Smells nice. That is good. Drink the whole thing so it takes effect. Rest well, Linda. I saved the message. I slept poorly. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Allison's face, saying they would send her back into foster care. I knew it was not that simple legally, but for a child who had lived in foster care, that threat was enough. At 7 in the morning on Sunday, I called my doctor's office. Dr. Susan Mitchell had been my doctor for years, and I hoped she could guide me, even on a Sunday. Dr. Mitchell's office, a nurse answered. Good morning, this is Linda Hargrove. I need help. It is urgent. Are you having chest pain? Difficulty breathing? No, I said. I think someone gave me a sedative without my knowledge. There was a brief silence. One moment, Mrs. Hargrove. The doctor called me back 10 minutes later. Her office was not open on Sundays, but she sent me to a 24-hour lab and scheduled an appointment for me later at a private clinic where she handled emergencies. A few hours later, I was in front of her with Allison sitting beside me, hugging her rabbit. Since it was Sunday, the trip was not too bad, but it still took a while between the lab, the clinic, and finding parking. Dr. Mitchell was serious and direct. You believe someone put something in your tea, she said. Yes. I had a sip last night, very little. But now I remember Rachel had given me the same infusion at previous dinners. I drank it twice, maybe 3 times. Do you have the cup or a sample? I left the cup aside, unwashed. I brought a part of the mixture and pictures of the jar. The doctor nodded. We are going to run blood and urine tests. Today's test will be a screening, not a definitive diagnosis. I am also going to note what you are telling me in your file. If anything shows up or if a minor is being threatened, this has to be reported. Do not handle this like a family disagreement. I swallowed. Reported where? For you, to Adult Protective Services. For the child, to Child Protective Services. You need people trained to speak with her to intervene. I nodded. Do it. They took my samples. I left the clinic knowing this could no longer be handled within the family. Before heading back, I bought envelopes, clean bags, and a lockbox. Back at the apartment while Allison was coloring, I called a lawyer. Attorney David Coleman had his office in the North Side and had helped me with my will. I told him about the trip, the tea, the folder, Allison speaking, the threat of sending her back into foster care, my house, and the previous times Rachel had given me tea. I need this to be solid, I told him. If I accuse Rachel and cannot prove it, my son might never forgive me. The lawyer spoke calmly. Then do not make baseless accusations. Document everything. Do not confront your daughter-in-law. Save messages, photos, samples, and instructions and file a report today. Even if you have to add to it later. Today. If there is a threatened child and a possibly sedated older adult, do not leave it until they get back. I asked him to repeat the steps and I wrote everything in a notebook. I want to take Allison to my house, I said. I understand, he replied. But if you do that without telling anyone, Rachel can use it against you. File the report first. Then we will see about requesting that the child stay with you safely. That helped me not to act on impulse. That afternoon, I filed an emergency report. They guided me to contact Adult Protective Services for my own case and Child Protective Services for Allison's. It was a long call. My name, address, relationship with Rachel, health history. Description of the tea, messages, the threat to Allison. They gave me a case number and told me not to confront Rachel. If I felt I was in danger, I should call 911. The word interview scared Allison. She did not cry. She just became very still. It is not to scold you, I explained. It is so that someone who knows how to listen to children can hear you properly. I am not going to tell you what to say. You tell them what happened in your own words. And if you do not know something, you say you do not know. Will you be there? I will be nearby. You will not be alone. That same afternoon, Rachel video called from Cancun. She looked tired from the sun, with sunglasses perched on her head. A pool was visible behind her. Matthew appeared for a moment, smiling. "How are my loves?" Rachel said. I positioned the phone so she could see Allison on the couch. Allison did not look at the screen. "Very well," I said. "Everything is calm." "Are you following the folder?" "Yes." "And the tea?" "That too," I replied. "I drank it last night." Allison clutched the rabbit to her chest. "Good," Rachel said. "Resting well helps. Sometimes you feel all out of it from not sleeping." "Yes," I said. "It has been good for me." After hanging up, I went to the bathroom and splashed water on my face. On Monday morning, Dr. Mitchell called. "Linda," she said, "I have preliminary results. They are not definitive, but there is something we cannot ignore." Allison was at the table eating apple slices. Seeing me, she put the apple down on her plate. "The screening showed traces consistent with a sedative," the doctor said. "I cannot confirm when or how you ingested it, but it is not a medication prescribed in your file." My mouth went dry. "But I only had one sip last night." "That is why the previous times matter. We still need confirmation, Linda. But you did the right thing by coming in. I am going to integrate the preliminary medical report." I closed my eyes. "What do I do?" "Do not drink anything she prepares. Do not eat anything she left ready. Save everything. And if you can, do not be alone when they come back." "I cannot leave yet," I said. "Then lock up tight. Keep your phone charged and let me know if you feel dizzy, confused, or weak. Do not downplay it." "I will not." I hung up and put the jar of tea in the lockbox. Then I checked the kitchen. Everything that had seemed normal before now looked suspicious. That night, Allison and I had macaroni and cheese for dinner. Something simple made by me. We ate in silence, but it was not the same silence as before. Later, sitting next to me on the couch, Allison whispered, "She gave tea to Mrs. Martha Donnelly too." I looked at her. "The lady from the church?" She nodded. "The one with the big hats." "What did you see?" Allison looked at her hands. Rachel would bring her food and tea. She told her that her nephews were bad, that she was going to help her. I breathed slowly. There were papers. Allison nodded. "A folder. She would tell her where to sign and then—" "I do not know. She said Mrs. Martha went to a place where they took care of her." I did not ask her any more questions. I did not want to turn her into an adult explaining things she should not have to understand. On Tuesday, we left early to avoid traffic. I took Allison to the Child Protective Services office. They gave us an emergency slot because she was a threatened minor and because of the preliminary medical report. The place was a family services center with light-colored walls and toys. Allison held my hand tightly. A woman introduced herself in a calm voice. She explained that they were going to talk, that she could say, "I do not know," and ask for a break. They asked me to wait outside so as not to influence her story. I understood. But watching her go in without me left a knot in my throat. Allison came out almost an hour later. She was pale and tired, but she walked toward me without lowering her head. The specialist approached. "Thank you for bringing her," she said. "We will forward this to the appropriate channels." "Did you listen to her properly?" The woman held my gaze. "Yes, we listened." On Wednesday, Attorney Coleman asked me not to improvise. If Rachel called, I should not argue, just let her talk. He also told me not to install cameras in a house that was not mine. That afternoon, Rachel called again. "Linda, how have you been feeling?" she asked. "Tired," I said, with the phone on the table and the recorder on. "I have been very sleepy. Your tea really works." Rachel paused briefly. "I told you. Sometimes the body needs a little help to rest. And with everything you are carrying, even more so." "Yes," I replied. "Yesterday I could not remember if I had taken my vitamins." "That is why it is good to write everything down," she said, "so Matthew does not have to worry." "Of course." Allison was on the other side of the living room, her eyes wide. I gave her a small signal to breathe. When we hung up, I sent the audio file to Attorney Coleman. She is trying to plant the idea that I am confused, I wrote. He replied a short time later. Save it. We will see how to use it later. Do not meet with her alone when they return. On Thursday, a social worker called me. She asked if Rachel had keys to my house, access to my accounts, if she had ever asked me to sign anything, if I had a diagnosis of cognitive decline, and if Allison was safe. Then she said, based on the preliminary medical information and the child's statement, this is going to be escalated. Adult Protective Services may contact you to expand on your report. In the meantime, we need to verify the situation when the parents return. We will try to visit on Friday afternoon. I felt a chill. I understand. That night, Allison could not sleep. She slipped into my bed without making a sound, stiff as if asking for company was a mistake. She is coming back tomorrow, she whispered. Yes. What if she gets mad? I hugged her gently. If she gets mad, I will handle it. Will you stay with me? Allison was silent for a moment. When she gets mad, sometimes she smiles first, she said after a while. I stayed quiet. I did not know what to say to a child who had already learned that. Friday morning I made pancakes, not because I was very hungry but because I needed to do something normal. I got dressed as if it were any other family meal. Dark pants, a blue blouse, comfortable shoes. Attorney Coleman called before noon. Let me know when they are about to arrive, he said. The social worker will try to stop by today. Maybe someone from Adult Protective Services too. But I cannot guarantee it. You do not argue, do not sign anything, not even a receipt. That I understand perfectly. Matthew sent a message at noon. We have landed in the city. We are picking up a few things and will be at the apartment this afternoon. I love you, Mom. I stared at those words for a long time. I felt a pang of pain for him. He was coming back from vacation without knowing what had happened. Around 5 o'clock, their car parked in front of the building. I sent the message I had already written. They are here. Allison was by the window, trembling slightly. I put my hand on her shoulder. Breathe. Are you sure? The door opened. Rachel came in first, her skin tan from the sun, sunglasses on her head. Matthew was behind her with the suitcases. Mom, he said, hugging me. Everything is fine, everything is calm, I replied. It was all I could say. Rachel hugged me too. When she pulled away, she studied my face as if trying to gauge how I was. She did not see what she expected. Linda, she said after a moment, placing her purse on a chair. Since we are all here, I wanted to talk about something important. Matthew set a suitcase on the floor. Rachel, we just got here. It will be quick, she said. And it is just to get us a little organized. She took a folder out of her bag. Another folder. I have been speaking with someone who advises us on estate matters, she continued. I think it would be responsible to get some papers ready in case it ever becomes difficult for you to manage your things. My things? I asked. Your payments, your house, paperwork. It is nothing serious. We could review everything with a notary on Monday, just so Matthew can help you if you ever need it. Matthew frowned. Mom does not have to sign anything if she does not want to. Rachel touched his arm. Honey, no one is saying that. I am just suggesting we look at it calmly. I stared at the folder. Explain it to me. Allison was behind me, silent. Rachel glanced at her. Allison, go to your room. Allison did not move. Allison, she repeated more softly. Allison's hand found mine. I took it. She is fine here, I said. Go on, Rachel. Rachel opened the folder. This is so that if you ever get confused with payments or documents, Matthew can act on your behalf, including with the house. It would be a matter of protecting the family assets. We do not want problems later. Like with Mrs. Martha Donnelly? I asked. Rachel took a second to answer. Matthew looked from one of us to the other. Who is Mrs. Martha Donnelly? A lady from the church, I said. Rachel was helping her with papers too. Rachel took a deep breath. Linda, I do not know who told you what, but you are mixing things up. Maybe, I said. That is why I asked for help. Help for what? To understand about the tea. The silence lasted a few seconds. Matthew turned to her. What tea? Rachel let out a short, nervous laugh. Please. It was an herbal tea, Linda. Do not start with that. With what? With this distrust. You have been very sensitive lately. You told me yourself you could not remember if you had taken your vitamins. Matthew looked at me confused. Mom, what is going on? I did not answer him right away. I looked at Allison. Her face was pale, but she was still standing. I squeezed her hand, not to force her to speak, but to let her know I was with her. Allison took a deep breath. She put medicine in the tea, she said. Her voice came out low. Matthew's mouth fell open, but nothing came out. Allison continued slowly. She told me not to say that if I talked, they would send me back. That Grandma was going to fall asleep, that it was easier with the papers that way. No one spoke. Matthew looked at Allison as if he could not comprehend what he was seeing. Allison, he whispered, you are talking. Rachel took a step closer. No, sweetie, do not say that. You did not understand correctly. Allison backed away, pressing against me. Yes, I understood. Matthew spun toward Rachel. Rachel, what is going on? She is repeating things, Rachel said quickly. Linda scared her. This is absurd. I did not raise my voice. I am not just saying this for no reason. I have already been to my doctor. I have already filed a report. I saved your messages, the cup, the jar, and the folder. Matthew turned pale. Mom, what? I took out my phone and played a part of the audio. Rachel's voice came through clearly. Sometimes the body needs a little help to rest. And with everything you are carrying, even more so. Rachel took a step toward me. You recorded me? Yes. That does not prove anything. I did not say it proved everything. I said I asked for help. Matthew ran his hands over his face. Mom, explain it to me from the beginning. Before I could speak, Rachel started to cry. Matthew, please. Your mother has never wanted me around. Now she is using this to drive us apart. Allison does not know what she is saying. Matthew looked at Allison, then at Rachel, then at me. He did not defend her. Nor did he know how to defend us. Rachel, he finally said, his voice breaking. Explain it to me. And do not tell me my mom made it all up. Rachel took a long time to answer. The conversation continued in the living room. Rachel's tone shifted several times. She said it was all stress, that I was exaggerating, that Allison confused things, that the tea was natural, that the papers were to help. But when I mentioned Allison's specialized interview, she fell silent for a few seconds. She had not expected the girl to have spoken to someone else. Nearly 40 minutes passed before there was a knock at the door. They felt much longer to me. Matthew opened it. In the hallway was the social worker who had called me, accompanied by a public official who identified himself and explained they were there to verify Allison's safety and to follow up on the report. Rachel raised her voice. This is ridiculous. You cannot just come to my home like this. The social worker responded calmly. We are not here to argue. We are here to verify the situation of a minor and an older adult involved in a report. We need to speak with you and make a record of our visit. Matthew looked lost. Mom, he said, what did you do? I looked at him. It hurt to see him like that, but I could not keep protecting him from his own reactions. I asked for help, I said. For Allison. And for me. The social worker asked to speak with me first and then with Matthew. Rachel interrupted constantly. She said it was all an exaggeration, that I was resentful, that Allison was a troubled child, that no one understood how much work it took to care for her. But she was not just talking to me anymore. Matthew sat down with his elbows on his knees. I do not know how I did not see it, he said. More to himself than to me. I moved closer but did not hug him. I love you, Matthew, I told him. But you cannot step aside now. He nodded, crying silently. Allison was behind me, shaking. I put an arm around her. I did not ask her to speak anymore. She had already said enough. We did not sleep at the apartment that night. Allison and I went to my house in Irving Park. Matthew wanted to come, but I asked him to first give his statement, hand over whatever he had, and cooperate with the authorities. I also asked him not to pressure Allison to forgive him quickly. With the help of Attorney Coleman and Child Protective Services, an emergency measure was requested for Allison to remain with me while her situation was reviewed. The preliminary medical report, Allison's interview, the jar, the cup, and the rest of the mixture were submitted through the proper channels. My photos, messages, and audio recordings served as supporting evidence. Not everything was resolved that night. There was paperwork, calls, statements, and long days. At first, Matthew wanted to believe it was all a misunderstanding. Then he spoke with the social worker, listened to Allison again, and stopped arguing with the obvious. He handed over documents, gave access to messages, and agreed to supervise visits at the beginning. He also sought psychological support for Allison and for himself. He began to understand too late what he had let happen, but at least he stopped stepping aside. Rachel was investigated. I later learned there were other suspicions. Mrs. Martha Donnelly, a widowed woman from the neighborhood where she did volunteer work, and another older woman whose nephew had been saying for months that something was not right. Not everything was clear and some things were still in process, but there were repeating details. Food, infusions, help with paperwork, powers of attorney, notary procedures, and accounts that someone else began to manage. Weeks later, Allison was sitting in my kitchen, at the tile table where my husband used to drink his coffee. A soft drizzle was falling outside, the kind that sometimes surprises you in the afternoon. I made her hot chocolate. Since then in my house no one drinks anything unless we know where it came from. She held the cup with both hands. "Grandma," she said. I had heard her speak several times by then, but it still took me by surprise. "Yes, sweetie. I am glad you did not drink the tea." I went over and hugged her gently. "Me too," I said. She rested her forehead against my blouse. "Do you think I can talk more?" "You can talk whenever you want," I told her. "And when you do not want to, that is okay too. No one here is going to punish you for speaking." She looked at me for a while, as if she needed to hear it again. Then she nodded. "I still have copies of the photos in the papers. The jar is no longer with me. It is where it needs to be. The house is still my house, though for a while, I had trouble sleeping peacefully. Matthew comes to see Allison under clear rules. Sometimes he sits in the backyard and stays quiet. I do not kick him out, but I do not act like nothing happened either. I remember that night in the kitchen clearly. Allison spoke because she could no longer carry what she knew all by herself. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.